Welcome to Soft Bites Podcast. Your life, your dentistry. We talk about ways to have more fun and meaning in one of the coolest and most rewarding professions in medicine. Conversations on how to bring awareness, create a healthy workplace, and provide emotional insights to make dentistry a fulfilling activity while making space for one's wonder, creativity, and freedom. Here are your hosts, Manuela and George Andre.
Hello everyone. After a big break here from the soft bites, we are back on the second day of the year. Hello, George Andre, how are you?
Hello, Manuela. How are you? Happy New Year to you.
Thank you. And today we have a guest that has been with us at another episode. If you didn't listen, go back to the episode of the evidence-based dentistry. It was a 3-part, and we decided to invite him back. Welcome back.
Thank you so much
Antonio.
for the invitation again. It's a real pleasure to be here. This is the kind of initiative that I think that dentistry really needs. It's a very closed-down profession, and we are very close on ourselves. And the issues we are going to talk about today are also a threat to deepening that kind of isolation that the profession has. So these kinds of initiatives that you are putting here, guys, are really needed, and I really cherish what you are doing in dentistry, the kind of sites you are putting on, and these kind of podcasts, which really shows another, perhaps more human aspect of dentists, not only of dentistry, but also of dentistries and the people behind dentistry. So thank you for having me again. It's a real honor to be here, and a real pleasure talking to you as always. And Happy New Year to everybody.
Thank you.
It's our pleasure to have you here. Last time it was like a big, long talk, very interesting about evidence-based dentistry. And today the topic is, I would say, it's
no
smaller, right? We're going to talk to you about AI. We know that you are a big, you are very interested in how technology is affecting dentistry and evidence and knowledge and healthcare. So to start, AI, everybody is talking about it. So how big do you think, Antonio, this is going to be in health and in dentistry? Is it going to be just a little, or is it going to be a lot?
It's going to be a lot. It's going to dominate every aspect of our life. First, I would like to... I am not a computer engineering person. I don't consider myself even not a very keen on computer person. So I have 57 years old. I am 57 years old. I remember my older brother getting into the house with something which was a black box, which had 1K of memory. 1K. It was called the ZX81. It was programmed in BASIC. So I was born before computers were even here. So it's not something that I grew on. I had to force myself into it. But I am especially interested in this AI question, a topic, because it will change the way we live, the way we work, the way we interact with each other, and even our most deep human aspects or our humanity. So it really interests me as a doctor, as a person, as a human being. AI is going to be very big. And in the healthcare field, it is expected that now the annual budget, I mean, what it moves on in dollars, it's like $18 billion. It is expected so the market is about $18 billion. And it is expected that in 2030, it will be $187 billion. So it is expected that in the next 5 years, the healthcare AI market will grow for a tenfold expression. This also puts a lot of pressure on the even ecological pressure, because there are threats. I mean, today 2% of the carbon emissions are already uh, um, linked to AI training devices, because AI must learn, AI must be trained. So all these training steps and devices that are on already account for 2% of the carbon dioxide emissions. So AI comes at a cost, and also at an energetic cost. So there are lots of issues here, but it will be very, very big. In healthcare, in fact, we are the late arrivals on this topic, because there are other fields where AI is much more developed than in healthcare. So healthcare is the last resort of the last field of AI, but it's so big, it's becoming so big that even, for instance, major technological companies are investing a lot on AI healthcare. And I mean Amazon, I mean Apple, I mean Microsoft, I mean IBM. All of the major technological companies are investing a lot in AI and healthcare, because it will dominate all the aspects of healthcare. So it's going to become very, very, very big.
What about in dentistry? Because we know that dentistry is mainly hand skills and a lot of human contact and rapport also. Do you think that we are more protected against the effects of the AI compared to other medicine specialties that who work with clinical decisions based on objective data, such as radiology, for
Okay,
example?
before getting to the point of I would like to get to your question first, because when you say that, can you repeat your question? Because there's a word there that strikes me. I just forgot it now, but you say.
I said that because dentistry, we work not only but mainly with our hand skills and a lot of human contact and rapport. Maybe we are more
Okay,
protected
okay,
against the
that's good.
effects of AI compared to other specialties
Okay, that's the word you
in
use.
medicine.
We are more protected. So we all kind of see AI as a threat, or as something that will help us to achieve our goals in a better way. Are we competing with AI? So that's what, when I heard the question in the first time, that struck me a little bit, because why should we be even feel threatened about AI? So this is the perception that we're getting, that AI is really dominating all the aspects. In dentistry, it won't be different. So dentistry will change, is changing rapidly. And in fact, I think it's one of the medical fields where AI is advancing more rapidly. We are using it a lot already. And it will be present in the way we schedule our patients. So in the way we store our patient data, the type of data that we will acquire from our patients, the way that data will be used to scan for and to personalize the kind of medicine. So every aspect that is dealt with in the other fields, like personalized medicine, like data gathering, data application, clinical decision making, diagnostics, and in a near future, not so part, the robotic part of it, that all of those aspects will dominate the dentistry. So it will be the same. Uh, we kind of have the perception that everything is happening fast now, and I was telling that really healthcare is the last resort in AI, because for a long time, and we still have a long way to go. We are the late arrivals in healthcare to this field of AI, but this has a reason. This is because, as you know, healthcare decision making in healthcare, and all the process of healthcare, the diagnosis, choosing the treatment, implementing the treatment, deciding which treatment for which patient, then performing the treatment, then assessing the effects of the treatment on the patient. All these steps of the clinical flow are very uncertain. So medicine and healthcare, it's all about uncertainty. And engineers don't like uncertainty a lot. And the money people don't like uncertainty a lot. So, and the kind of performance that you demand on healthcare is also very high. So if you, for instance, on diagnostics, if you hit the right diagnosis 80% of the times, I mean, to be right 80% of the times on some professional fields, it's very good, but in medical field, it's very bad. So the kind of accuracy that you expect and the kind of performance that you demand for safety reasons and for patient safety reasons in the healthcare is much higher. So no one wants to put money, or nobody wanted for a long time to put money on something that is very uncertain and that must perform very well. So it's not easy for the healthcare, but it's becoming now it's becoming very big, and dentistry won't be different. It will dominate every aspect of our life, of our professional life, and dentists won't be different. Because even if you have to have some technical skills and hand skills to perform your job, that also, because we talk a lot about AI and we don't talk so much about robotics, but I think that also, as it happens now in other fields of medicine, robotics will dominate the dental aspects. So we are expected to cooperate with machines, or maybe become some part of machines ourselves, and machines integrating our type of parts. We can talk a little bit about that at the end, but it will dominate every aspect of the dental field. And I think the dental field is one of the fields that is growing more rapidly. You use it a lot and we don't even notice it.
And Antonio, how much AI are you already using in your clinical practice
So
with patients?
I use really what everybody uses. I think that well, now we are implementing. We are trying to implement AI on the patient interaction part at the reception level, but also at the clinical level. But what I use what everybody. Well, I use like co-diagnosis. I use it for diagnosing. I use it for planning implants. I use it for planning my cases. For instance, with the Smile Cloud device, which I think it's a very you can very quickly make a smile design like in 5 minutes. So I use it for smile designing. I use it for implant diagnosis and planning. And now I'm even using it. That's what I'm saying. Now I have an AI tool which records all of my talks with the patients. So when I'm doing the first appointment, it has the ability not only to record what I'm talking with the patient, but also it's called Magical. I don't know if you heard about it. It's MED-Chical. So it records what you are talking with your patient, and then it trims what is not interested. So, and it organizes by itself what should be in the antecedents, what should be in the present story, what should go for the treatment plan, and it automatically does that. So it's very, very convenient. But not only it says recorded, but it also kinds of trims all your conversation with the patient. it retains only what's important, and it organizes the information automatically in each of the parts of a clinical story. Because if the patient is telling me, my mother used to be like that, it will catch that talk, and it will put that on the familiar story of the clinical story. So, and you say, well, now I'm complaining because I have these two headaches. He will take that and he will put that. So at the end, you have a clinical story which is organized just from the current talk that you are having with this patient. And for instance, these kind of AI devices are very, very important in restoring the patient-doctor relationship, because not so in dentistry, I think, but in the other medical fields, one of the problems is that you do not have time. You do not have time to be with your patient, and consultations are becoming shorter and shorter and shorter. And so the doctor-patient relationship is really jeopardized and undermined by the lack of time and you have to give to your patient, not only lively, but afterwards in preparing your cases. And so these kind of devices and AI devices, which will evolve from this to be personal assistants, will really help you to have more time for your patient and to restore the confidence that your patient has in you, because you don't have to write during your appointment. You can look your patient in the eyes, establish connection, and talk to your patient, whereas some devices is getting all the information that you need, and it stays recorded. I think this is very important. I don't know if you have the idea, but healthcare personnel, we have two different phenomena occurring in the globe, So we have lots of people being born on the South Hemisphere, and you have a demographic problem on the North Hemisphere. So this will cause two types of pressure on the healthcare system in the near future, which is you will have much more patients to treat, but you have much less healthcare personnel to do it. It is expected that in the next 10 years, like in 2030, there will be a shortage in the world of 18 million healthcare providers. So this problem that we have in Portugal, not enough doctors, not enough personnel, not enough nurses, not enough healthcare personnel, is a common problem because populations are getting older. Also, this is putting a lot of pressures on government. Healthcare expenditures are at this peak and are expecting to rise in the next years. And so AI is also pointed now as a very good solution to help to fill this gap that is growing every day. And so we will for sure need AI companions in every step of the way to fill this gap.
Before we talk about research, I wanted to ask you. This was not in the question, but I'm curious because you are a teacher. What about in teaching? Because I have a friend, and she's a teacher in England. The kids are between 11 and 13, and she said that they all use Chat GPT for their works. And so what about in teaching? This is it's already having a big impact.
It's a threat, and it will. I think that will completely change, because it is changing our students, and it is changing us, and it will change also every aspect of teaching, because I think all professors feel very frustrated today for several reasons. First, you have to compete already with machines that your students are using in the classroom that are not the traditional pen and paper stuff. I will give you an example. The other day, it was the first class on biochemistry course. So I teach biochemistry in the dental school. So it was the first day, and I was starting to teach amino acids. And a student, and it was since the faculty is they are redoing lots of classrooms. We are doing some of the classes are doing again we are doing like in the pandemic, we are doing online classes. So I didn't had the chance to meet presently with my students, and it was the first class on amino acids, and I was speaking about well, it doesn't matter, stereoisometry and isomerism, and one of the students poses a question. He said, "Look, I would like to know, in this aspect of chirality, if amino acids have the same kind of chirality that all carbohydrate molecules have." And I stopped him and say, "Look, where do you come from? Are you coming from a biochemistry course? Are you a biochemist?" And he tells, no, I come from high school. I say, if you come from high school, there is no way that in the first class of amino acids, that's the kind of doubt that raises in your head automatically. So where does that come from? Oh, I was also asking here on ChatGPT for a nice question to pose. So this is the kind of, so this is very difficult to manage. You don't give your classes against Google anymore. You give your classes against ChatGPT or against OpenAI or against Google or whatever. So this is very frustrating for us because you have more intelligent and devices than you helping the students on the spot. And also this makes me wonder why students are not interested in what I have to say anymore, because I feel that every day. So like 10 years ago, all my classrooms used to be completely full. Well, there are some aspects that have changed which do not only have to do with the technological aspect of it. You have to be very careful about what you say today, everywhere. In a classroom, everything stays recorded, everything can be, so you have to be, can be misinterpreted. And so you have to be very careful. That's one aspect. But the other aspect is what you have to say from a traditional class that you used to give is not useful to the students anymore. That kind of knowledge that you transmit, what is an amino acid, how many chemical bonds can it make, what type of chemical bonds, the students have that kind of knowledge at their fingertips today. They don't want to sit 1 hour in a room listening to what you have to say. If what you have to say, it's something that is at their fingertips and you can produce a question that you don't know how to answer on the spot. So I think that that really makes you wonder what will be the role of the professor in the near future, and how will AI change the role of the professorship? Because what can you as a human provide to these students that AI can also provide? What is the extra factor that you can provide them? And I think because they listen, what I usually call the master apprentice binomium that has dominated every aspect for the last 200 years, all the aspects of every profession. Knowledge was a very powerful and valuable thing to have. So the professors had that knowledge, they would transmit the knowledge, and this master apprentice binomium dominated the aspect of teaching. Now it doesn't. The master is some technological device. That's where the knowledge is. One type of knowledge, I mean, what I call the encyclopedic knowledge. Who was Napoleon? how many bones are there? What's this kind of muscle doing? What's the masseter? Where does it insert? That kind of knowledge you don't have to teach anymore. You will not have to teach anymore. So what will you teach to these students? I think that you will have to teach processes, ways of thinking, ways of maintaining the critical appraising skills that I think will be very important. How do you decide that what is appearing in front of me is good science and good knowledge or bad science? Because that is what I think we will have to teach to our students. Is what are you human? How to stay human in all this, and how to separate right from wrong, how to separate truth from lie. How can you see that what you are reading is good science and will help you on what is bad science? Because you don't know what truth is anymore these days. That's one of the very big menaces of these kind of systems. So I think that professors will have to evolve in that, and all the rest will be done by the machines. I think, and in the dentistry and in the clinical fields, for instance, we are now developing robotic and haptic systems that can simulate. So you virtual reality and augmented reality systems will help you to go to the preclinical, and some are saying that even through the clinical. And because you are also having lots of problems all around the world with treating real patients in academic settings, that has always been that has always posed some ethical concerns. So if you can substitute real patients to virtual patients, and if you can use virtual devices to treat those patients and to teach your students how to treat those patients, those virtual patients, and I think that will happen. That will substitute, but then again, you will ask, how do you stay human? So you will have to train your human skills. You will have to train your critical thinking skills. Then that's what I would think we will teach, and we will have to teach. So it will have to change.
Okay, let's go for the research. What about research? How much are you using artificial intelligence for
Well,
research?
I think that AI is also dominating the research aspect. So there's a lot to talk about there. So we do not have the idea that, for instance, big data capabilities have changed the way at what we call the fundamental knowledge research. For instance, protein research. You now have AI devices that can, for instance, some years ago, if you wanted to know the 3D structure of a protein, just something as easy as this, you would have to sequence the protein, get the amino acid sequence, and then it will take you like 5-10 years with specialized people to be able to determine all the molecular 3-dimensional aspects of that protein. You have AI devices that now does it just from you just insert an amino acid sequence. It can even not exist on a normal protein, and it will give you all these aspects: 3D folding of the protein, what it can be used for, and it will do that in 10 minutes. So, because, for instance, we have been able to sequence proteins for many decades, and also to the gene expression and to decode all the genome. That could have been done. We had the technology to extract the DNA from many decades, but we did not have the computational power to make sense of all that massive information. So what AI is giving us on the fundamental knowledge field is this capability of treating big data and to use it to even now to predict a lot of molecular stuff, devices, pharmaceuticals. This is one of the first aspects. Then we are also using it for at the other type of research, at the other hand of the translational spectrum. At the other hand, for instance, the use we make of information to produce systems that can help doctors to decide better. So that's what we do with the evidence-based center that I run. For instance, at the university, we try to produce contents that will help clinical decision, support systems for clinical decision. For instance, there's an AI now which is called Elicit. When I have to perform a systematic review, I have to have like 2 or 3 trained people which will produce a good systematic review, which will work on it for like 1 year or 2 years. Now we have a new AI, which is called Elicit. It's free. It's in the internet. If you want to go, just Google Elicit. There's a paid version, and there's as usual, a crappy free version. So that's one of the strategies now on the internet, is that everybody gives you a crappy free version of it, so you will want to buy the good thing. That happens with Spotify. It's a marketing way of doing things. So you have a free version and you have a paid version. So if you enter on the Elicit program, if you enter a focused question, like a PICO question, it will scan 120 million papers in minutes. It will extract the ones that matter. It will critically appraise them for you. And it will produce an evidence-based report about your question that will be in your email in less than 10 minutes. So, and this is only the beginning. So this is very interesting, but it's also very, these systems are appearing so fast that I don't know how we can produce the quality control on the stuff that they are giving us. So that's why I think that for us to maintain and develop our critical skills, our critical appraisal skills will be very important, because things are moving so fast and are so appealing that it's very difficult to, but these systems work quite well. So I think that in the near future, you will have all these type of programs and devices to help you decide. And it's not different in research. Also, for instance, I will also would like to speak a little bit about clinical research. Clinical research is going to change dramatically in the next years. I anticipate that in like less than 10-year times, you won't be recruiting patients to perform, for instance, RCTs. RCTs, which are at the top of the pyramid in the kind of evidence they produce for clinical decision making, have lots of problems, as you know. So RCTs have what we call a very good internal validity. So you focus your patients, you focus the providers, you focus the setting, but at the end of the day, that patient on that kind of setting, treated by that kind of doctor, doesn't exist in real life. So it doesn't have external validity. That's what we call to whom my results could apply. That type of patient in that type of setting does not exist in my real setting and in my world. So for me, that RCT don't give me the answer that I need. So you have spent a lot of money of taxpayers to provide a statement that is very narrow on its application. So you need other type of clinical decision support. And so now what we call big data analytics in healthcare is emerging. And you are developing systems that can gather what we call real data. So real world data, real world. It's all the clinical data that is spread around the internet, for instance. So if you think about private insurance companies or insurance companies, they have a lot of clinical data, which is very useful on assessing risk of interventions and risk of diseases. Pharmaceuticals have lots of data. Patients provide a lot of data because patients are analyzing themselves more and more and even more. And you will live on the era of the self-assessment. You are using detectors for every type of health signals, in cardiology, so you are self-analyzing yourself and producing data all the time. When you are on the social media talking about the treatment that you have performed, that are clinical data also. If you say, I'm taking this new medicine, it's giving me an headache, that's a clinical output. If you're telling I did this, but my overlay just lasted for 2 days, it was done this way and this way, these are clinical data. So you will have algorithms that are being capable of scan and gather all this data and produce what we call real world evidence. And so you can use real world data to produce real world evidence. And you can even design new kinds of RCTs, or randomized clinical trial, to collect this kind of data prospectively on some types of patients. So this will give you the possibility of have clinical recommendation and answers to these patients from clinical data that you have collected virtually. And you don't need to recruit the patients to make this kind of performance anymore. So I anticipate that in a very near future, you won't need to recruit patients anymore to do with all the ethical problems that pose, because people are always starting to think on how to sell their own clinical data. You see that with the iris stuff, and so you can sell all your clinical data at a very good price. So, for instance, in Europe, the all this protection law with the data that we face today was constructed having in mind that people data would have to be protected when it comes to that, because you will have so much clinical data in your possession every day that you will produce, that it will have some value for money, but it's your data. And so you have to be also protected, because you have more than 100 companies only in the European Union at this moment who are on this topic. They want to collect clinical data to be able to process it and provide clinical research answers to all the stakeholders of the clinical research process. So it's also a big topic here.
It's so fascinating, and the changes are going to be so huge that it's
yeah.
We kind of feel lost, right? So what will be our role? I'm going to tell you a little story. Maybe 1 year ago, I was participating in a clinical report that someone was preparing an article, And one of the things that sometimes we do, you are writing something, you are just writing them, then you are writing some concepts, and you just forget, or you don't have that much present what are the classical articles that support a given concept, right? That you are writing down. And I was writing this article, and the person that was writing actually made one very tempting thing, which was, so I know this concept to be true. So give me to ChatGPT, give me the articles that support this concept. And then she sent me the article to see my opinion. And I was looking at all the references, and Antonio, all the references were made up by ChatGPT, all of the references. I'm sure that today things are different, right? But even for writing an article, is this cheating? What is the borderline? I mean, even the way that you write articles today, I think it's quite different, because in the past you would go, you would look at your at the articles that you have, you would manually search them. But today you can just ask ChatGPT. So I know this to be true. What is the article that supports this? But at least at 1 year ago or 2 years ago, they were made up. Some of those articles were completely made up. So what is the borderline for cheating when you are writing?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because
scientific
that's
article.
another very hot topic. I mean, this is, I'm not a technological person, but this field passionates me so much because it's so complex, and it's really putting our humanity. We are here at the crossroads of how can I use this to become better? How can this thing undermine every human aspect that I have and transform it in something that I don't want to be? And we can talk a little bit about that later on. But here also, research is performed by humans, and humans are imperfect in its own nature. But also the AI is, because the particular phenomena that you have described has a name, it has been identified, and I don't know if you heard of it, it's called AI hallucination. So like us in the 60s, also AIs are becoming hallucinate, because AI is trained, the ChatGPT kind of program is trained not to fail and to produce a response even if he doesn't know it. So if he doesn't know one, it will invent one for you. It will make one up for you if it's, because it's not in its nature. We are humanizing machines already, but it will not provide an answer. So it will provide an answer at any cost. And that rose that problem, which is now called AI hallucination. That in fact, we remarked that these kind of programs where they don't know, they will produce an answer and the answer is not accurate. And it can be so much daunting as making one article up from top to bottom, like you noticed. So that's a particular aspect that is being companies are dealing with that aspect. The OpenAI is dealing with that aspect. So the new versions of ChatGPT will have it less and less and less and less, and the data has been identified, and that will be correct. It is more menacing, and we must think about it, is how fair is it to use AI in the writing process. So in what can AI be useful? AI can be useful, for instance, in detecting plagiarism. So now you have many devices that are capable to rapidly detect it if the text you are producing is copied from another paper, but if it's produced by you. Then there is a difference in using AI for collaboration, for instance, for seeking papers and for help you to make sense of those papers. And the other thing is to use AI as a partner in the writing process. So one thing is to use ChatGPT to help you organize ideas. Other thing is to ask the ChatGPT to write your own article. And now you are also having the possibility of detecting if that text has been written by an AI device or by a human device, because the way of writing is different. So the problems that are emerging are that people are using AI devices to write instead of themselves. And that raises you the question that has also emerged: should these AI devices be put as co-authors of the paper or not? You have already some requests. You had, like 1 year ago, 2 years ago, the first request for a paper on nature for ChatGPT to be considered as a co-author of the paper. So that rose the question that what are we going to do in the ethical boards and everything? Should we allow it? Should not allow it? And what came up of that is that it should not be allowed, because it cannot be accountable. A machine cannot be accountable. When you write a paper on healthcare and you produce a statement, you are accountable for that statement you produce. It can be true, it can be false. If it's false, and if it's unethical or something, you can be accountable for that. A machine cannot be accountable for that. So AI devices should not be considered as co-authors, but there has to be a disclosure of if artificial intelligence has been used to produce that paper and that that scientific piece or not. So at the moment we are at, it has to be disclosed. We have recurred to ChatGPT, we have recurred to what else, but it cannot be considered a co-author of the papers. But I would think that could be changing also.
Let's go back to the big data that you already start talking about, because I know that something that you find very interesting, and it's going to have a big impact in medicine and research. Can you tell us a little bit more about this? Because you were telling about companies that have interest in all this data. I know that, for example, the data of the National Health Service in England, it's worth billions, and they are all after it. So tell us a little bit
Well, big data,
more about
it's
this.
the capability of treating large amount of data that cannot be treated or processed by usual software or common software or common computational devices. So you have to have special devices with very big capability. The capability of big data is just one of the aspects of AI, but it's very interesting because you are producing data and data and data and more data every day, and you are developing all these devices and programs and algorithms that can make sense of all this data. And so I think one of the this will be very helpful, for instance, for precision medicine, because on one side you will have the patients that will produce their own data. You will be collecting clinical data from the moment you will be born till the moment you will die on a personal cloud. It's called the bring your own data patient. In like 10 years, every patient will have its personal clinical data with him at all times. Great part of it, he will produce it itself, because he will monitorize every life sign of his own, and every clinical aspect of his own will be monitored by his own devices, his own iPhone, it won't be an iPhone anymore, but it will be something that it's always monitoring you and censoring you on all your aspects, molecular aspects. And so you will be producing so much data that and that data will be used for producing knowledge, for research, will be produced to many times when we think about personalized medicine, there's a misconception. People think when they hear the word personalized medicine, they think that it will be a tailored medicine. They think that, no, I will be a medicine tailored for me as an individual that will come to my expectations, to my own needs. And it's not really about that. When we speak about personalized medicine, it means that your particular case of disease, stranger as it may seem, is similar, and rare as it may seem, it's similar to that of many other peoples around the globe. And that what personalized medicine is about is you, with that kind of clinical data, are similar to that individual. So what is now a very rare disease that you are in difficulties of diagnosing, you are in difficulty of treating, you are difficulty in perceiving what type of person do you have in front of you and to place it in that clinical context, that will become very easy. Because when you will be able to get all that omic, so now we are not talking about metabolomics or genomics anymore, we talk about all omics. It's all the omics in just one, and they will be gathered in your phone with you and be collected at the time. So your omic will be similar to that. You think, oh, it's unique. No, it's not unique. It will be similar. Of course, your genome is unique, but all the other stuff, there are, even if it's a rare disease, there are other people in the world that have it. And what these systems will be able to do is to place you in that context immediately. So now in Hospital Santa Maria, you need a doctor house to see what you have, think about it, and place you in that context. That will happen automatically in a few years. So even rare disease will be diagnosed, and the treatment options will be at hand, because you will be able to treat in a worldwide manner all the clinical data of everybody. And that's what personalized medicine is. It's not, I'm going to tailor my medicine for you. It's your case. It's similar to that person, that person, that person. So I have the answer for you, because now I can really identify very quickly what is your problem with your molecular condition or your molecular composition. So that's what personalized medicine is. You become a person to be included in a group which is already identified, no matter how or what your molecular constitution or deviance or is. Okay, so this is what personalized medicine, and big data will enable us to gather all these clinical data and to make sense of it. So it's very interesting.
Let's talk about now the impact that can have on us as human beings. So we talked on previous episodes about how social media is affecting us, especially younger generation that already were born with it, and I think now it starts to have to be backed by evidence. This idea that social media can affect our mental health and also our social skills, our critical thinking, our ability to focus. What about artificial intelligence? How do you think this will affect us? The impact that can have on us as human beings?
Well, that's also a very good question, and it's one of the things that I think most about. It's how this is going to change us as human beings. We are, because, and this is a very interesting question, because if you up till now, all the menaces and all the problems arising from social media use were really made from human to human, you know? It just made some worse aspects of the human race, some of its worst aspects to emerge more rapidly, you know? When you have 2 or 3 kids doing bullying at the school, it's different from having all the school to bully someone on the internet. Okay. So it amplified, social media amplified some of the worst aspects of human behavior, but it fed on
Because it
it.
fed on it,
Uh,
right? Also because the machine the algorithm realized that it was
but
what
so
bring
yeah,
engagement.
it was the technical capability of more humans doing something bad to other humans. But it was humans using technology to be bad to other humans, if you want. Now you have other things emerging, which is you have the possibility of creating, for instance, artificial personas that can be bad themselves, between commas. You are producing artificial intelligent personas. You don't know what is truth or not anymore when you go to social media, because the artificial intelligence is capable of producing lies so powerful that you cannot even say what is truth or it's a lie anymore. And this is a very big political concern. It's a very big, we are seeing at the political level. But at the end of the day, one of the big menaces for our humanity that I see in AI systems, in the social media, is that we are transforming ourselves in persons that are used to give orders to be fulfilled. And that, I think, is the biggest menace to our humanity. What defines us as humans is our capability of, as I used to say, transcend our biology. It's to be keen on each other, is to ask questions, is to have interests on each other, and and to be our biggest skill, evolutionary skill, is our capability to adapt. And our capability to adapt comes from the sophistication of our language skills that we as a species have developed. So we can be very specific in speaking about every topic. And this gives rise to discussion. So I have an opinion, I detail my opinion, and you have a different opinion, you detail your opinion, and you confront me. Intellectual confrontation, it's the basis at the end of the day. Intellectual confrontation is the basis of our humanity, and it's the basis of our development, and that's what has put us on the top of the food chain, as I said. And the very big menace, I don't think that AI will come in a form of, well, we don't know, of some kind of technological monster that will devour us. No, no. But we are losing our humanity because we are now being masters of what I call silico servants. So I say, ChatGPT does me that, provide me that, and you won't question me. And that is translating to my way of relating to other people. And I'm seeing that in companies, I'm seeing that in work environments where I felt free to speak about some years ago. And now I have to think more because people do not want to be confronted anymore. And they don't want to be confronted anymore because they are getting used to tell a machine to do something that the machine will do without questioning it. And that, I think, is the biggest threat AI is posing to your humanity. It's to transform you in a dictator, to transform everyone. So social media has transformed any of us in a star So we have developed big egos. And now with AI, we are becoming tyrants. We are becoming dictators because we don't want to be confronted. We are stars that do not want to be confronted. And that will undermines our humanity a lot. And that worries me a lot. And that's why we are thinking the world, this kind of new ideas getting in, because people don't want to be confronted. People don't want to be, this is a very big threat. So I think where AI is really dangerous in undermining our humanity, it's at this aspect.
And that's why you said also that
The-
that's why teaching is important to
Yeah,
that has to be
that's what
taught
I
in
think has to
schools,
be
right?
taught
So
in
that's
schools.
that's going to be the role of a teacher
Absolutely.
also.
Absolutely.
but you mean like emotional intelligence, stuff
Yes,
like
I
that?
think
And critical thinking, curiosity, all of those.
because I think that machines will become much more. I mean, we don't know what will come of this, but I think that
Yeah.
emotions will arise from machines. That's a possibility. And if you see the last, there was an interview with Clara Ferreira. Well, this is international, so I don't know. But everybody knows Damasio, the Portuguese neurologist. And his last book, I'm very anxious to read it because it's really on this what is the conscience and what are emotions and what are feelings and how will AI interfere among other things, how will AI interfere with this capability? Because can machines become also emotional? Uh, well, I think it's a very big, we don't know what will arise from all this. It's going so fast, but I think that we have to be very aware. And I think that it will, there was an engineering professor at the university that said that humanity is also being lost because we are already incorporating machine parts in ourselves, but machines will also incorporate organic parts in itself. And so in a long future, you won't be able to say what's what anymore because you will have machines with human parts and you have humans with machine parts, prostheses and everything. And so we are mingled with machines so dramatically that you won't be able to tell what is what anymore. And that will be the end of the humankind because it will be off machine and the machine will be off human and it will be the same. Well, I don't know.
So it's there's lots of things that we should worry about. I'm particularly interested in what you say that we are becoming tyrants, right? And with social media, we became superstars, and with AI, we are becoming tyrants. So, and when I ask you if these things should be taught, not only in terms of critical thinking from a professional perspective, but if this is the case, if the case is that we may become less human, do you think that even education should change in order to make humans more prepared to use AI? This kind of stuff. Do you think it's important to be teach even
I think
in
it will be
undergrad school?
mandatory. And I think one of the aspects, well, it's not just me. I read a lot of what other people write about this and I think about it. But one of the major concerns in AI is not technology, it's ethical. How are we going to regulate all the ethical concerns about the use of AI? And that's where you are losing this is a major concern because the field is evolving so fast that you are not being able to cope with all its implications. In the last half hour, we look at all the kinds of topics and complex aspects that we have already covered only in this program. And it's only the scratch of the surface of the concerns that AI poses to the human race. So I think that we did not do that with social media and our kids, and we will pay the price for it. There are lots of books now and on the anxiety and the depression and the everything that I was empathy, everything.
Empathy.
I was reading a text of a also an American psychologist yesterday, and I was showing it to my wife, where he says, "Well, now you have also an over psychalization of the society. Everything is a psychological disease these days. You eat too much, it's a disease. You eat too less, it's a disease. You are too anxious, it's a disease. You are too relaxed, you're lazy, it's a disease. Everything has been transformed into a psychological disease. So everybody needs a psychiatrist. And he's a psychiatrist himself. And one of his criticisms is about the over domination that psychology and psychiatry are having on and the society. This is because society feels ill. People think these are pathologies, which are not. That's what it says. These are not. These are only our aspects of being humans. Most of them, they are not forcefully. So we want to transform everything on a psychological disease, and this is because we feel so alone and we feel so threatened by this technology. And we did not cope with it preventively, and our kids will pay the price and are paying the price for that. And that will happen again with AI if we do not do things a little bit more calmly. So I think we have a big job in preparing our kids from early life, also at university, to deal with this process. And one of the major concerns is the ethical concerns of the use of AI. And I think this is a very big field also, and it's the human part of it, because machines are not going to decide on the ethical concerns that it poses. It's humans that have to draw the line there. What's right from wrong.
Yeah, and another aspect of this is actually using AI in psychology and cognitive therapy, because there seems to be some applications. Do you think that humans will overcome the prejudice and preconception of talking to a machine if this can actually be beneficial? I mean, would you do it? I have done it myself. Would you do
That's what I
it?
was going to say. I think they already did. I think everyone is talking one way or the other, like
I
using it
just
that
bought
way.
this new car. It has an AI assistant in it. And the guy that sold me the car told me, look, this is a learning machine, and it will scan and the way your relationship will evolve with your car. And I thought, look, I'm not developing any relationship with my car. I mean, I do not have time to develop relationships with my kings around. I'm not going to do it with a car. But the fact is that the thing talks to me, and I talk to the thing. So when but I disconnected it now, because it didn't. For instance, I like to sing in the car, and I was singing in the car, and the AI assistant comes and say, why are you singing? Why not letting that for the professionals? And I was very offended by it. I'd say, what do you mean? So at the end of a moment, you are talking, you are
He
speaking and
was
discussing with
criticizing
it,
you.
and this is very daunting. So I think that we will do it. They will become very powerful assistants, and but they are also becoming and that's why I was telling about the. I think this is a consequence of the degradation of the doctor-patient relationship that is enabling rapidly some forms of AI that to become substitutes on treating, even at the psychological level or at an emotional level, some types of patients. There are some experiments going on. There was an experiment in the US with an AI that was called Louise, that was supposed to assist cancer patients. And so this was an application that you would put on all your devices, your computer, your iPhone, your smartphone, and it always scanning what you are doing. So if you go on your camera, so you go to the park, you feed the ducks, you spend a little bit with your grandchildren, then you come home, you go to the Facebook, you have some chat, you see some photos. And when you, for instance, become, you are feeling downsided, and you say, well, for instance, you verbalize, well, this disease is so crappy, I'm so unhappy of being healed. Louise will interact with you, and it will say, look, there are some nice aspects. You were looking at your photos, you were having chats with your life isn't so bad. You had grandchildren, you had some talk with them just half an hour ago. Look, you went to the park, you still like to walk a bit, you like to feed the ducks. And when this was proposed to the patients, oncological patients say, no, I don't want that. That is very artificial. I will never do it. But the thing is, once they started to use it, they become using it and using ever more. And also, not only that, but their quality of life indicators rose up and bettered. This is also being used, for instance, for Alzheimer patients. We are humans. Our love is not, as we say, unlimited. Mother's love for a child is said to be unlimited, but I doubt if it's unlimited. For instance, my mother had Alzheimer, and it was very difficult for me to be 24 hours around the clock answering, for instance, the same question that she would pose me 1,000 times in a row at 2 a.m. when I had to work the other day. Big as your will may be, a machine can do that much better. And is this love? Is this just a technical capability? Well, I don't know. But and this is only the beginning. If you place yourself like in 50 years from now, what will those machines be? Or so we anticipate now that in 30 years, you will have robotics so advanced that we will have personal assistants performing medicine and helping trained doctors, not helping, I mean, overcoming trained doctors in treating patients. Because now the way we see AI in healthcare is a collaborative process. Doctors are collaborating with machines, but machines do not substitute doctors, okay? So the concept is not substitution, it's collaboration. What we call joint clinical decision, or collaborative clinical decision making. That's the term that is emerging now. So collaborative decision making is evolving very fast. But I think that we will, and not only we think that maybe in 20 years, 30 years, you will have robotics so powerful that will be able to substitute. Or for instance, one doctor will have a team, one human doctor will have a team of 100 robotic doctors to perform much of the tasks themselves. And people will talk to them, and people will feel cherished by them. Sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry. I was just going to ask you about regulation because I mean, you said earlier that this is evolving very, very, very fast. And for example, that the program that you mentioned, I think Louise, it was for a certain context, right? So for cancer patients, but now with ChatGPT, everyone can talk to ChatGPT and use it as his own psychologist. I think there was already a case of a suicide of a teenage boy on the United States. And I think due to that, OpenAI had added some regulation. But don't you think that this is evolving so fast that we need more regulation? Because in certain contexts, and if things are developed for certain contexts, like you were saying, okay, so that can be supervised and regulated. But if everyone has access to it and develop relationships with this chatbot, I don't know, this needs more regulation. No, even for kids.
No, that's what we really need. The problem here, it's how can you make a machine accountable for its prejudices and for its for its for the damage it
Because
causes.
now you cannot, you you still cannot make that
No, you
the
cannot
machine
make a machine
accountable.
accountable, and that's the big problem. And how will we be
Yeah.
able to make a machine accountable if a machine is not a person? What will you do? You disconnect the machine if it misbehaves? Is it a problem for the machine to be disconnected? Will it have a mind of its own, like Stanley Kubrick in the 60s with the 2001: A Space Odyssey predicted this kind of problems. It's such a powerful film. I saw it when I was a kid, and it was,
Mhm.
I mean, it's such a powerful film. How can a guy in the 60s produce such the problems that we are facing now? I will disconnect the machine. Will it be a problem even for the machine when the damage is already done? So accountability here it's a big word. How can you make you are letting machines coming so fast in your life and dominate so much important aspects of your life? How can you make them accountable for the decisions that they are taking?
Because it seems that what the regulation that they are doing, it's after the damage, so they are not anticipating the damage, and
Mm.
they are fighting the regulation a lot. So it's like they don't want to be regulated, and some of the regulation that they implement, it's already because they it's proven that there is
Yeah. So
damage
how can
done.
you be preventive on this? And that's what I think it will be the role of the teachers, for instance, we were talking about. It's very important that people understand where to draw this line, but we also have to, I mean, stakeholders have to regulate uh, how can machines impact your life, where because now it's not regulated at all. ChatGPT is put on the market. Everybody has access to it. As you said, everybody can interact with it. So there is no parental control. There's nothing. There's no kind of all the thing is a bit discontrolled, and that's a big concern. So the ethical concerns, the regulation concerns, we have to, and lots of people are saying that we have to to diminish the pace at how things are going at this moment.
When you talk about diminishing the pace, I was looking at one of the questions that we have here, and I wrote this. I saw something recently saying that the 90s were the perfect balance between life, technology, and fun. I mean, we can say this. We can even say the 80s, 90s. Because when we look at those times, I think we were being excited by technology, but I feel, and maybe I'm a little bit bold saying this, that we were more in awe with the world and we were happier. Um, do you think that AI will make us happier? Or don't you think we are just digging our own grave?
Before going to that question, can I just come a little bit back in the previous question? Also,
Of course,
way AI is
sure.
interacting with patients, um, because there are. It's not only Louise. You told was meant for a very specific type of persons, but I showed that paper on the course I am honorably giving now in the Jorge Andrés course on, and it's very interesting that in Harvard and Stanford there was this study, two types of study. One was putting AI, a very powerful AI algorithm in trying to make the diagnosis of very complex diseases, same as some Harvard doctors. at the same time. So one group was Harvard doctors. So there was a clinical scenario that was presented to an algorithm, a very powerful algorithm, and to a very competent doctor, like Dr. House. I mean, internal medicine doctors, we are very competent in dealing with very difficult diagnosing some kind of illnesses. And the computer performed better in many of the cases. But the other aspect was that also on how to communicate it to the patients. So they put a chatbot, a very developed chatbot, communicating it to the patients, and also a group of doctors. And most of the patients thought that the chatbot was more empathic and more clear. They understood it better, so they preferred it. So this is how, and this is only look, we are scratching the surface here. So I think that the people will talk to machines and people will prefer machines in the very near future. But machines can be misused. So that brings us to the ethical part. And so to finish with that. So coming back to your question now, sorry, can you repeat it for me, George? The last question you posed me.
So the question was, I saw recently that the 80s, the 90s, and the early 20s were like the perfect balance between technology, fun, happiness, time, enough time for friends and family. I mean, we went out more. I would say that we had more fun, and I don't want to sound like that old saying that our parents and our grandparents always say that in that area, in those times things were better. I don't want to sound like that, but this is how I feel. I feel that in the 90s and in the 80s, I was very young in the 80s, but in the 90s and early 20s, just think that we had more time and we were more human. I mean, we were organically happier. That's what I believe. And do you think that AI will, in the future, bring us there? Because if we think about what is the ultimate goal of humanity, I wouldn't say humanity, what's the ultimate goal of being human? I mean, it is to have fun, right? It is to be happy, or at least to be peaceful, right?
Way of putting
That's what I believe.
I mean, like Skankanenzi used to sing, if it feels good, it's
and
okay. That's hedonism. That's one way of.
No, but I'm thinking about it more in the broader sense. I mean, when I say have fun, it means includes the family. It means live in a community. Feel being part of the community. Feel that you have a rich social life. You have a rich circle of friends, and you feel connected. Do you think that AI will eventually address that issue? Because I don't think it is addressing that issue. And a part of me believes that, okay, so if the whole goal is to be happier and to have more fun as a community, aren't we forgetting that goal? Aren't we complicating things more and more?
I don't know if our goal, our goal as humans is, for me, I think I think humanity is that everyone can have its own goal about what humanity is about and still be a valid one, because humanity is so complex. And that's what the question that we have been posing ourselves. I give a class which I call the three pillars, the three major supporters of what I call the neuron ether, because we pose questions as individuals. So our humanity starts at our conscience of ourselves, and that conscience drives us to pose questions. And we have three ways of answering that questions. One is based to answer very objective questions, will this will this bridge fall if it not has the right material on it? So I make several experiments, and I know that I have to build a bridge on that. So that's engineering, that's science. So science enables us by repetition to answer questions that are very focused and very objective about our way of life. Then you have some types of questions that cannot be answered. This is not this kind of class that I give. It's based on the Bertrand Russell's the story of Western philosophy. He speaks this in the first chapter, and he said there are questions that cannot be answered with science. For instance, what will make me a better person? What will make me a worse person? What kind of deeds will be acceptable for me as a person to perpetrate? So this what is envy, what is love, these kind of answers you cannot answer, you cannot get it by science. So you have to think they appeal to thinking, not to, science appeals to experimentation, to conceptual framework, to thinking, but pure reasoning is part of what we call philosophy. And then there is another way of answering the questions we pose, which is very dogmatic. It doesn't appeal to thinking. It doesn't appeal to experimenting. It only appeals to beliefs, which is the mysticism. Do I believe in something? What are my beliefs? Every civilization, mysticism arises first. Mysticism is dominant. And mysticism has a common ground, which is I have to develop. You want to develop your mysticism to become a better person and to try to make the lives of your kins better. How can I help my fellow? And this is seen as the good, for opposite as the bad. So good and evil are always here balanced in the mysticism. And the good is where I should go, try to be a better person, try to help my kins alike, how to help my family, the love, for opposition that the hate is considered bad. So it's and that's what I think humanity is. It's this driving to the righteousness, to doing what's best, to helping each other, to tolerate the differences in each other, the biodiversity, to respect it, to embrace it. And that is where our happiness resides. It's when we feel fulfilled in accomplishing those kind of tasks, which do not have to do with science, do not have to do with reasoning. Will the AI be able to do it and help us do it and help us to be better persons? Well, I don't know how to answer that question. But I think that that's one of the things that I always ask is where do mysticism fit in this AI? Because will AI become persons? Because what are we creating here? Because this is very, I think about this many times. Is if you will create a being that will be able to do this, you will become God, because you have created an entity which is self-conscious, which will have a mind of its own, which will probably be able to replicate itself, to have its own language, to be more intelligent than you. So we will become a God. What kind of God we will be? A God that has created machines to serve you without questioning you. So you are far a weaker God than the one that created you and give you possibility, what you call livre-arbitrio, what you call the self-possibility of deciding. So I don't know. This is I talk too much, but I don't think I do not.
No, but that was the whole point. That was the whole point, because it's. I also think a lot about that. I mean, aren't we overcomplicating things? When actually the whole goal of being human is actually being negatively influenced, with all these things. I mean, sometimes I think that we should stop and think. With social media, I think it happens the same thing. I mean, am I actually having more friends? Am I actually having more connections? Or am I actually being more isolated? And with AI, the same thing. Is my life actually being easier? So what? So that I can sit alone at night in my apartment completely alone without any human connections? So everything is easier, but I just feel more and more alone. I mean, what's the whole point of that, Um, yeah, yeah. What's the whole point? Yeah, but that's a long discussion, and I think that we will never get a conclusion, right? But it's just the fact that we are thinking about that, and we may elicit this sort of questions in our listeners' mind. I think that this is
Yeah, because
it's
it's
already
very.
positive, right?
I mean, I think that we all feel that this is very idiosyncratic. It's very paradoxal that you can be connected to everybody, and yet these kids feel so alone. So this is very strange. I mean, the you have the world at your fingertips. You can go anywhere.
Don't you think that we were not made to have so many social
What I
connections as we
think,
do now?
what I think is
We are
that you
not
are
prepared
losing
yet for that.
deepness, which is something that also defines your humanity. Stop, think about something deeply, discuss it with your kin alike. You don't have time to do that anymore. So more connections mean fewer quality connections. I mean, for me, it's not the technical side of this that is jeopardizing. I mean, of course, it's a consequence of it, but I'm not. I think I say, oh no, kids don't get out of their rooms; they are online every time. Well, I was always listening to music in my room also, and my parents would say, oh, you're going to be nobody because you only listen to music, only this and that, and I would stay at the phone with some friends, and I think that's not the problem. We have to know how to separate what is just a generation conflict. Everything is different, and it's difficult for us as elders to cope with that and to understand that. That is called conflict of generations. But this is different from realizing that, in fact, all type of generation has more prevalence of psychological disease, of anxiety, of neurosis, of psychosis, despite the fact that they have more connections. They have so many connections that they do not have time to think about it anymore, about the kind of relationships that you want to have. In order for you today to be accepted in a community, it's much more difficult. That's why I think that this tyrant aspect that I think about it, you are not getting used to be confronted anymore. You do not have the human physical contact anymore to be confronted in first place. And this is what I think is jeopardizing our kids. So many things to do, so many. Look, I'm a person, I have concentration issues. So I disperse very easily. And for me today, it's a daily struggling to get focused and to stay focused on a topic, because my phone is ringing. I have lots of message. I have lots of connections. I have lots, and this is also so difficult for them to. That's why I think we as parents, as teachers, have a lot to do and a long way to go in teaching them what's humanity. That's our.
One last question from my side. How do you interact with your chatbots? I mean, the question of saying thank you and excuse me. I think it was some Altman that said that adding words to the conversation can apparently cost millions of dollars. It has an impact on the environment. Also, you mentioned that. So but some do it because they fear that the cost of not saying it could be higher one day.
The
What is your
consequences.
relationship with your
Well,
chatbots? How do you treat them?
that's a very interesting question. And I think I could also ask,
And also, let me just add because some people do have a relationship with with this. So they, like you said, they are
I mean,
tyrants. They are
have.
tyrants,
I think I have a
but they like
relationship.
to also to
I think I have a
yeah,
relationship with my.
and that tyranny also you like to that the thing that answers you do it in a nice way. So I think that they also feed
well,
that.
I think that I use it, I do it, and I'm glad to do it. And because I think this, uh, we spoke a little bit about big data. There are many aspects in AI, technical aspects in AI, which I do not dominate, but that interest me. And the way we are interacting with machines now, it's very different from what has changed in the last years. What has changed is the way you speak to machines. Firstly, you speak to machines now. You don't write to machines anymore. You start speaking. But there's this field that has evolved, which is natural processing language. So natural processing languages enable machines to understand your language as a human being. So these are how you transform natural voice commands and natural human commands in machine language, in code, in programming code that will tell the machine to actually do something. And I am very pleased that these natural language processes are emerging and enable us to talk to the machines because it's faster and it enables to be um, uh, cordial again and educated again. Because one of the aspects that I saw that I think has contributed to losing a bit our humanity is also that when you have to write 1,000 emails a day or 100 emails a day, plus messages, plus when everything was written, the demand was so high that you did not have the time anymore to keep your uh, cordiality formulas. Say, hi, sir, thank you very much. You stop writing those kinds of stuff. So your language became more aggressive and you became less well educated. And you felt that you didn't have to say thank you anymore. And the aggressivity that is latent in the human aspects of relationship nowadays have to do with that. That has been studied. And it's because you have lost, as you were writing down and you had to write so much, you started to lose your education formulas. Dear sir, thank you very much at the end of your emails. Hope looking forward to see you in the near future. Thank you so much. You lost those kinds of because you had to write them down. I feel that with natural language processing, it's emerging. So I use it because it's not because I consider the machine is human. It's because I considered myself human when interacted with something else. That I should be well educated, and that's the way I was brought, and that's part of my humanity.
But that makes a difference in communication. In human communication, it makes a difference. It's not only the content, but also the way that you say things. It makes a huge difference in communication. You can say the exact same words in a different tone, or you can just add a sorry before or after, or you can just add, in my humble opinion. I mean, it's so different, the impact that the same words
No,
might have,
for
with just some
instance, with my
small
kids,
tweaks.
I'm very strict with that. My kid is living and studying in Berlin. The other day, he sends me this message. Have you dealt with my coming back ticket? Because he was coming now for Christmas. And I just say, good morning to you. I wrote it. And then he wrote, Forgive me, Father. How are you doing today? I'm doing good. You need anything? Yes, I would need you. Would you be so kind to provide me with the ticket? Yes, I will. So because this way we this is very important. This is very important it makes a big difference.
This is human. This is what makes us human, right? This is also what makes us human, right? Because if we don't have that, what we
No,
actually
it's
have.
it's part of our humanity. It's not the machine, it's us. I agree. I totally agree.
So, Antonio, thank you so much again. It's
Well, I talked too
almost
much,
it's
as
actually
I
two
say, but it's
hours
so
of
interesting.
recording.
Thank you.
Almost 2 hours of recording. No. This is very good.
Super
I have
interesting, and
read
it's like you said, we
the
only scratched the surface, not even scratched. I mean, it's just
yeah.
that's
But I think it's very important that people think about these things in a deeper way and think about the direction that they are taking in their own lives, about not only implementing the technology, which is one thing, but I think that in our conversation, one of the things that I realize is that we have, of course, we have to be careful with, and we have to be conscious about the technology. But most important thing is that we also need to be more conscious of our own selves, right, and the way that we interact with other humans, because we might forget that in this whole process. We may forget that the actual goal is to connect with other people, and so thank you so much for all your insights. I took a lot of notes, and
Oh,
I think
thank
it
you.
was very
Thank you so
interesting.
much for
thank you.
it's always I mean, it's so rare these days to have some places where humans can still have this kind of discussion and taking the time to think about
It's
stuff
true.
and
Yeah.
and you think, wow, 2 hours, nobody will listen, nobody has the capability, but I don't know, you will do what you want with this speed. But they do at the end, and no,
But they
and I
do.
think
They
it's
do.
coming back. I think people
They
are
do. They
noticing
do.
that they are feeling threatened, a little bit threatened by all this that is happening. And whoa, how can I be one? How can I stay human amid all this and navigate all this information season?
Exactly.
So
That's exactly how I feel.
And also because I think that people are, it's getting, at least I speak for myself, it's getting more difficult to distinguish
that's
what's real and what's not, what we see
Yeah.
online. So conversations like this,
well,
I mean, I love to listen to podcasts where people talk about information, and where I
yeah, and it's still, yeah,
listen to
it's still
critical
people to
thinking.
people, it's still peer to peer. So just thank
Yeah.
you so much for having me again. And I congratulate you again on this initiative, because I think it's so important these days to keep people in touch like this in others. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing your ideas and
Okay.
visions with us.
Thank you, Antonio.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so
See you
much.
next time. Antonio, thank you again. Manuela, see you next time.
Bye bye,
And
Okay.
everyone, and
Thank
thank you
you.
for
Thank you,
listening.
everybody.
Thank you.
Bye bye.